Hello everybody, today I want to discuss hope. So I hope I get this right. We all need hope in this strange year that we're living in, and 2020 being a strange year, blah blah blah. So hope is a really important thing that we need to keep us going, because if there is no hope, the opposite of hope, I suppose, is John Cleese once said, is despair, and I don't want us all being in despair. We need that hope to drive us forward. Hope's what we cling to in times of darkness. Hope is also what we need in times of greatness and happiness, and hope that it continues. But we all know everything goes up and down. Life goes up and down. So with hope, I shall start with some all and everything from Mr Gurdjieff himself. So he says, he once more clearly saw the real value of his own significance and sincerely realized his nullity. From then on, he began with sore grief to meditate sincerely on these realizations of his, and the results of his meditations was just this, that in every part of his entire presence, the hope gradually began to arise, and ultimately even the conviction became definitely fixed that conscious labors and intentional sufferings might transform him from a nothing into a something. So we can all be transformed, but we have to work on ourselves, as we've said in previous shows. But we need that hope to keep driving us forward. We must never give up on anything. Even in the darkest moments, in the times when you're just thinking, I'm just not getting anywhere. Sometimes we're not getting anywhere because we need to just pause, let everything sink in, and go around the body, around the brain, around the heart. We don't realize it's doing that. We think, oh, nothing's happening, I just seem to be not going anywhere. But it's like everything's just shifting into position, and then suddenly something will happen and things will start happening again, or a new way of looking things will come in, or a new bit of advice, or something appears, that book that you need that will tell you that next step. Sometimes we just need to sit back and let things take their toll. I know I myself, I used to be very impatient for everything and couldn't understand why I wasn't getting the ta-da. But sometimes it's because that ta-da doesn't come until you've let it all. I keep wanting to say amalgamate, but I don't mean that. I mean, well, I suppose amalgamate. It all comes together and starts working inside ourselves. As Gurdjieff says, we've got many bodies in us, many centres, and all them centres need to harmonise. So when we take in some information, maybe it just stays in the thinking centre for a little while. We need it to move down into the moving centre, into the emotional centre, or maybe it goes into your emotional centre and hangs out there, and you get the feeling of it all, but you're not quite thinking it through or pondering it through. So sometimes that's why things come to a halt or a stop. So he carries on about hope, and this is from Henri Tracol. Hope is there, objective hope. Dormant potentialities never vanish. Hidden as they are, they bear witness to the sacred presence, the sleeping God within. And although I forget over and over again, why sleepest thou, O Lord? There is a way out of this maze, a very long one indeed. It may take a lifetime, and perhaps even more, but it starts here and now. So he's, I think that was from Parabola. I think I wrote that out from the Parabola magazines, which are very interesting magazines to read if you want to continue looking at this work and can't always afford the books. You can get a lot of the Parabola through their website. They put articles up. So as I was saying, sometimes we stop, and he's saying here, it's a bit like you go to sleep again, but we're not going to sleep. Hopefully we are still awake or waking up, but it's just going around inside ourselves, making it happen. So I'm going to go back to all and everything, because to me that's the important one. So Gurdjieff's still talking about hope, and he has this prayer which you can look up, and one verse of the prayer is, hope of consciousness is strength, hope of feeling is slavery, hope of body is disease. And I sometimes find these a little confusing, but he's trying to explain to us how the different centres work. So we've got itchy nose. Different centres are working, and our different centres are the feeling, moving, and the thinking. And he relates it also to love and to consciousness. And so we want to do this hope within ourselves, even though he's saying here, hope of consciousness is strength, because if our consciousness is full of hope, then that consciousness is working and moving you forward and keeping you on the path, because you've got that hope in there that you're going to attain this. Hope of feeling is slavery. That's quite a weird one to say. I might have to ponder on that a bit. Hope of feeling is slavery, hoping that you have the right feeling. Maybe your emotions hold you back. Maybe emotions deceive us in some ways. But if we get into the right emotions, hopefully things will start falling into place of feeling, the right things. So this is also from All and Everything. I say quite frankly, sincerely, without any arrière-pensée, that according to my convictions, which have been formed thanks to long years of investigations strengthened by numerous quite exceptionally conducted experiments, on the results of which are based the Institute for the Harmonious Development of Man, founded by me, even for you, it is not yet too late. Everything is not yet lost. And things aren't lost. If you're on this path, even though sometimes it seems that things aren't happening, that hope needs to still be there to egg you on, so you don't give up on the path. You don't have that sudden, what I call like a wall comes down and just like, no, this is all rubbish and I don't know why I'm doing this. And it's easy just to go back and fall asleep again, isn't it? Just do what everybody else is doing and live day by day and live mechanically. Trying to become awake and being a real person is difficult. It is a hard path, as I've said in other shows, and it's that hope that keeps us going along on it, keeps pushing us forward all the time, even though sometimes different versions of ourselves, inside ourselves, of the many eyes, does try and talk our hope out of us. But that usually is, like I was saying before, either despair or a willingness to give up too easily. That's just a weak eye, and that weak eye needs to be worked upon and told in no uncertain terms, if you want to do this, that you're going to do it, and that it's nice to have its point of view. Thank you very much, Mr. Weak Eye. Or in me it'd be the weak Debbie that's trying to get through, and hopefully my hope is strong enough to quieten that and reassure it that this can be done. We need that reassurance, and hope helps with reassurance. So All and Everything again. The said investigations and experiments showed me very clearly and very definitely that in everything under the care of Mother Nature, the possibilities foreseen for beings to acquire the kernel of their essence, that is to say, their own I, even after the beginning of their responsible age also. Because he does say at some point that it's too late to start working on all this, but that's really for people that really don't want to change, people that are just too settled. You've met people like this. I know many people like this. They don't look any further than their own noses and their own lives, and they're not interested in what's beyond. They just live day by day. Many people would call them materialistic, secular people, where this kind of work is telling us and reminding us that there's more to life than what we are taught in our everyday lives by our peers and such like. And normally people like us that are doing this kind of work, we have that inkling. We know that there's something else. We've just got to get to it. And whether the whole point of being on this planet is to ascertain in that training, that teaching, to then become that next person, or do you want to get caught up in the cycle of life and go round and round and keep redoing things? It's your decision. All and Everything. There arose and was continuously sensed the suspicion, which later became a conviction, that owing to some obviously non-lawful causes, something very undesirable for them personally had been acquired and had begun to function in their general organisation, And that at the same time it was possible for this something very undesirable to be removed from themselves by means of their own data within themselves. So as I was just saying, it's all down to us. We've got to do it. We've got to work on ourselves. And I know many Gurdjieff people come to this saying, oh, Gurdjieff says we must find a teacher. Gurdjieff says we must find a group, which is great if we can. But not everybody can. And especially in 2020, 2021, it's very difficult to get out there and meet new people or sign up to a group to be with, so we have to do it ourselves sometimes. And thankfully there are people out there that you can get in touch with online that can give advice or help or be there, or perhaps put forward the teachings in a way that will help you to think about it and work on it with yourselves. But deep down, you yourself have to push yourself. We shouldn't be having some teacher or some guru behind us, pushing us all the time. We've got to do it. Even Gurdjieff himself used to get rid of his students because he said that they get to a certain level and they've got to go out and do it on their own. He can't keep being their parent for them or have them holding on to his apron strings, as he would say. You've got to go and do it yourself. The whole point of this work is so that you can learn to live in this world, but as a more harmonious person, attuned to what's really going on, and how to cope in this lunatic asylum, as Gurdjieff calls it, the lunatic asylum that this world seems to run along. How to help us get through it rather than getting caught up in the lunatic asylum and becoming a candidate for it. Instead, we want to be on the outside looking in. There is always in their presence the germs of all possibilities for the crystallization, during their completing formation into responsible beings of corresponding being data, which later, during responsible existence, could serve for the engendering and functioning of objective reason, which should be in the common presences of free-brained beings of all natures and of all external forms, and which in itself is nothing but, so to say, the representative of the very essence of divinity. Maybe that hope's a little push from the divine to say, stay on the path. You are one. You are part of me. You are one of me. And maybe the divine puts that to everyone, but only some people actually feel it or take note of it. Many people ignore it and just carry on without taking part. Because that, as we've said in other shows, the whole point of all this also is so that we work with the divine and be part of the reciprocal maintenance of the universe and the harmonious maintenance of how everything's going. And we want to be part of that harmonious workings. So this also is from All and Everything. The sole means now for the saving of the beings of the planet Earth would be to implant again into their presences a new organ, an organ like Kundabaffa, but this time of such properties that every one of these unfortunates during the process of existence should constantly sense and be cognizant of the inevitability of his own death, as well as the death of everyone upon whom his eye or attention rests. Which, I've read that quote before a few times. That is part of the suddenly being aware that everybody's a human and everybody has the chance of development, but not everybody wants to do that. That's fine. But if we know that everyone's going to die, it makes you look at somebody differently. It makes you take in other beings differently, and yourself as well. You've only got a certain time to get this done in before your death. Don't put off till tomorrow. So this is from Views from the Real World. Only he is free who stands in the middle. If he can do this, he escapes from the general law of slavery. But how to escape? We are slaves. We are weak. Yet the possibility exists of our getting free of the law if we try slowly, gradually, but steadily. From the objective point of view, this means to go against the law, against nature, to commit sin. But we can do so because a law of a different order exists as well. We've been given another law by God. And with this, I wanted to do this one because this is about the pendulum in a way, the scales as they swing from side to side. And, we have our ups and we have our downs, but they're both sides of that scale going up and down. And we want to be in the middle when we're developing ourselves so that we're balanced. We want to be in that middle line of where the pendulum swings back and forth, or them scales are going up and down. We want them to be level. And that's part of being harmonious, and that's the state we want to get to. But if we can get to that, then we don't get caught up in everything, because we can see both sides. So also from views from the real world. The drop has, in principle, a possibility of escaping from this general current and jumping across to the other, the neighbouring stream. So he's talking about the two rivers here, which come up quite often in the Gurdjieff work. The two rivers flowing along, you know, and we're all drops of water, and we can go in the one river, which is just following our mechanical ways, or hopefully we'll get into the stream that takes us off up towards development and towards the divine. But all waters flow along on the big sea of life and go into the inland, into the river, and all rivers stream off into two ways. So you can either take one path or the other path. Some say it's the left-hand path, some say it's the right-hand path, but it's the path that you know will be the one that helps you with your development, and that you're not still asleep. He may also awake, if only for a flash, to the light of a higher consciousness, which will grant him a glimpse of the world of hidden potentialities to which he essentially belongs, as you and me, helping him transcend his own limitations and open the way to inner transformation. At such a moment, the call to search resounds in him, and hope is born in his heart. But woe betide him if he believes himself safe from now on. Let me read that again. But woe betide him if he believes himself safe from now on. The vision does not last. Perhaps it is not meant to last, and once more he is left with the dizzying impression of having sunk back into his own insoluble contradictions. So this is from Henri Traquel. So yeah, we have these little moments, lightning flashes of telling us we're on the right path and that we're doing okay, or a vision, or whatever, however it comes to you. That book that reads to you when you're reading it, says something to you that makes you think, yes, this is what I want to do. But then things stop, and it's that hope that needs to keep us going. Hope, hope, hope. So carrying on with Henri Traquel. Hope is there, objective hope. Dormant potentialities never vanish. Hidden as they are, they bear witness to the sacred presence. Oh, I've read this, but I'm going to read it again. The sleeping God within. And although I forget over and over again, why sleepest thou, O Lord? There is a way out of this maze. A very long one indeed. It may take a lifetime and perhaps even more, but it starts here and now. It is not too late to try and restore the forgotten order to which our remote ancestors belonged before the consequences of the properties of this accursed organ Kundabuffer were completely crystallized in our tyrannical associative system. So in search of the miraculous, if he changes something essential in himself, that is, if he attains something, this cannot be lost. So when we have them moments of everything seems to suddenly make sense, or something comes to us to help in our development or our pondering or whatever, and as I was saying to you, sometimes then it all goes quiet again, what you've learned from before should stay with you and should help you work on yourself, and should be crystallizing in you and going round and helping you to decipher the meaning of it all. So this is from C.S. Knott. From realizing the significance of your neighbor when your attention rests on him, that he will die, pity for him and compassion towards him will arise in you. By doing this constantly, real faith, conscious faith, will arise in some part of you and spread to other parts, and you will have the possibility of knowing real happiness. Because from this faith, objective hope will arise, hope of a basis for continuation. So it's objective hope that we're aiming for. And as it's saying here, hope of a basis for continuation. We need that objective hope, like the objective reason, the understanding of everything, not the subjective, where it's all about us, ourselves, individuals, but the objective when it's looking at everything, all and everything, as Gurdjieff named his books. So another not one. There goes my doorbell. The toast was given to the health of all hopeless idiots, both objective and subjective. It is necessary to add that only those who work on themselves in life will die honourably. Those who do not will perish like dogs. He asked me, not. This is Gurdjieff asking, not. Which do you wish to be, objective or subjective? Subjective, of course. I don't wish to perish like a dog. Every man thinks he is God, but a subjective, hopeless idiot sometimes knows that he is not God, has possibilities not to be shit. He has come to the place where he knows he is hopeless. He has realised his nothingness, that he is non-entity. So he's saying there about being hopeless, because he's talking about the subjective hopeless idiot, which is in the Toast of the Idiots. I'm going to try and get someone to come on and talk about the Toast of the Idiots. Every man thinks he is God, but a subjective hopeless idiot sometimes knows that he is not God, has possibility not to be shit. He has come to the place where he knows he is hopeless. He has realised his nothingness, that he is non-entity. So when we're in that hopeless state, we're becoming aware of our nullity, as I was saying in the first quote at the beginning. That nullity then is a clear slate to start everything afresh and again, and to work on oneself and use the objective hope to develop oneself and go forward. The doorbell's still ringing, so I'm going to have to go. But forward with hope, everybody. Till next time.